I mean, there's a million other ways this money should have been spent. We're the Armed Attorneys. Today we're going to talk about why gun buybacks don't work. Stick around to the very end because there's some pretty hilarious antics going on with regard to the Houston buyback that we're going to talk about. But before we begin, show your support for the Second Amendment by hitting that like button. Now, to start things off, Edwin, what are we talking about?
Well, the city of Houston staged their very first gun buyback this weekend. They did it in conjunction with one of the county commissioners. The Houston mayor, Sylvester Turner, was very proud of the type of gun buyback that he was going to do. They were giving away multiple types of gift cards for multiple different guns. And of course, they went on TV touting what a successful buyback they had, because they gave away $100,000 worth of gift cards.
Yeah, and so depending on the type of firearm you had, they were giving $50 away for non-functioning firearms, $100 for rifles and shotguns, $150 for pistols, and $200 for machine guns, or what they were calling automatic weapons. Now, let's talk about the event itself, Edwin. What are some things that jump out at you?
Well, they held it. They held it in a particular part of Houston that is known for having a kind of a high crime area. And so they were expecting a lot of the neighborhood folks to turn out and turn in guns. They had them apparently lined up down the street. They told them that they had to put their guns in the back of their trunk. They were not to touch the guns. The police would come and seize the guns. And they were doing it with no questions asked. And so there was no way to get any of the background of the person turning in the gun or the gun itself.
Yeah, and so besides, incentivizing theft, I don't know how many people were running around the night before breaking into vehicles trying to steal guns in order to get a gift card for them. But the no questions asked aspect of this was very surprising. And we even saw, and when you have Soros-funded district attorneys saying, hey, this isn't a very good idea, we know how anti-gun they are, then you probably know it's a bad idea. What did we see out of the district attorney's office?
Well, the district attorney actually issued a letter, which is quite surprising because none of these individuals are necessarily politically adverse to one another. But she went so far as to actually issue a letter advising the city not to do this, how it was going to be a bad idea, and how it was generally going to obstruct justice.
Yeah, and we'll link to the full letter in the description below. We haven't been able to find that published anywhere else, but we have it published there. And it's kind of, I hate to say Kim Og makes good points, but she does point out why this, completely anonymous turning in your guns might cause some problems when solving crimes. And even might be, there may be crimes out there, and she references NIBIN. Have you ever seen a crime solved with NIBIN?
Not really.
No, she references NIBIN, but, you imagine we have this giant database of lost and stolen guns. And, whenever a police officer comes into contact with a firearm, it's not unusual to see them run the serial number to see, hey, does this gun show up in the lost or stolen property database? But you have all these people who can turn these things in, and they say they're not going to ask any questions. What do you imagine comes out of that?
Well, one thing that they say they're going to do is that they are planning on running the guns, the serial numbers, to see if they show up as lost or stolen guns, or they show up somehow linked to some sort of crime, I guess not associated with stealing a gun. So it's going to be interesting to monitor this to see if anybody does in fact get their gun back.
Yeah.
But obviously, if it does lead to a firearm that was linked to a homicide or a robbery, the chain of custody has been completely destroyed.
Yeah, there's no way of proving that crime.
No, it's going to be virtually useless in assisting the police in solving that crime.
Yeah, but I wonder, are they just going to go and destroy these things, or are they going to actually reunite crime victims with their stolen property? I venture to guess that they're probably just going to try to destroy these things.
And that would be very unfortunate because there's a lot of good people out there that have lost a lot of good firearms. I myself have had a firearm stolen. It was stolen many, many years ago, and about 6 years after it was stolen, I was contacted by the police that it had been recovered at a pawn shop. So I know from personal experience the system does work, so it'll be interesting to see if it works in this situation.
And apart from not actually solving any problems, we don't have any evidence to show that gun buybacks reduce crime. You know, we know that they do demonize gun owners and gun ownership. You know, besides that, we did see some foreseeable fallout. I did see images of people walking up and down these lines of cars with signs saying that they would pay cash for them. And that kind of started a discussion you had with another attorney on Friday, whether that would be a crime.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of interesting. We did get a call about somebody turning in or proposed turning in a bunch of half manufactured 3D printed guns. Does that actually cause them to be a manufacturer if they're putting it into the stream of commerce? And then you have to ask, well, is giving it to the police the stream of commerce? And there's a lot of interesting issues, but going up and down the street and buying or offering to buy guns, there's no crime there. And what is kind of interesting is that whenever we've seen these buybacks take place in typical areas of the country that are known for not being very gun friendly, say the Northeast or California, there's a lot of folks in very gun friendly areas that say, well, I wish they'd do that here. I'd go and set up a booth and buy every gun that somebody walked up. And so now that that has happened in a very gun friendly area of the country, I would be interested in finding out as well, did somebody actually get a windfall of buying up a bunch of $2,000 AR platforms for, you know, $200?
Yeah, and most of the images of the firearms that I saw look like rusted revolvers, really old, you know, maybe farm guns. You know, I didn't see anything in the reporting that looked particularly valuable. But there were, I will say, I mean, there's a couple of Twitter posts that I saw that really cracked me up. One from ghostguns.com. He took a bunch of frames and receivers down to Houston, attempting to offload those. And what, you know, the police didn't, they looked at it like a dog watching television. They didn't know what to do with them. Did you see that post?
Yeah. And what was interesting was that he actually had printed out the ATF's instruction that they were now going to be considering these as firearms.
Yep. And he had some sweet roller skates in the back of his trunk as well. And the other one that we saw was from Xaniken. That one went viral. It looked 62 3D printed firearms. They look like handguns. And so, I mean, a windfall over $9,000.
$9,300 by our calculation.
Yeah. So, you know, if they handed out $100,000 in gift cards, you know, almost a tenth of it is going to just one guy. So, but we all know this stuff doesn't work, that it doesn't reduce crime, doesn't make us more safe, just demonizes gun owners. And so this is the kind of stuff, I mean, besides being a huge burden on the taxpayer and wasting money, I mean, there's a million other ways this money should have been spent.
Oh, yeah. And that's what I was going to say is that, you know, those are your tax dollars at work. So it'd be interesting to see if the police actually had to carve it out of their budget. Is it in some sort of city slush fund? But at the end of the day, these were tax dollars that were collected by the city of Houston and then distributed to who knows what. You know, and also this is very troublesome because it could lead to a lot of family issues. You know, what if an adult son or adult child says, well, guess what? This is a great time to clean out daddy's gun collection. Daddy comes home from working or comes home from, you know, a hunting trip and finds that his gun cabinet is completely gone. Those guns get destroyed because they weren't reported as stolen. And so what is his recourse in this?
Yeah, no questions asked. So, you know, we hope you enjoyed this discussion. If you did, consider subscribing, hitting that like button, and help us fight the anti-2A algorithm by sharing this video. We want to hear your comments and questions in the section below. Do you think gun buybacks work? We want to hear from you. But until next time, we're the Armed Attorneys.